I was practicing spears. I got tired of spears, so I made a strange shape. And then I tried to hollow it. And I was told about this challenge. So that was before this challenge. I decided I'd make a top for it. And then drill a little hole, do a little painting, and fun.
Did you? No. Okay.
This was an afterthought because I'd been turning that even in the shop and had some time left over. So I grabbed one of the baseball bat cut off. That's a birdhouse. Actually, I thought it was going to be a beehive, but my wife had just been converted into a birdhouse.
Taking home
And
there you go. Grandson gets down sugar mountain. 3 balls.
but it's made from a single piece.
They've only been sitting on the counter. It's all that was really interesting. Oh, good. That's good.
Right. Keep wood houses to Christmas tree ornaments, we go get it, the right size birds and so on. I'm not perfectly pleased with either one, but I had a bunch of fun making them. And I appreciate the possibility that I got a couple of.
Are they other views? Yeah.
I made a birdhouse, and the top is marble wood,
These guys.
the stem is sedge, and the perch is ebony. The woods have been laying around the top.
Always was not smoke.
Made a few houses. This is bloodwood, and whatever this wood is, I don't know what it is. It was scraps that I found in the back, so we cut them off of the bowl. Because you have a bowl and you cut the corners off. This was in a bag, thrown away, and I spent actually about 2 hours, not all at once, but 2 hours trying to figure out the stretch of the grading ramp. I never did figure it out, but it's fairly hard, and it makes this is using the wood to get the best you can out of it. So this is African blackwood, and that's sapwood on the front. I think yeah, I see people make penguin. This is actually a New York tire house. It's got the in-house on the top, the only house on the top there. It's got a loading dock with on the back, and just so that everybody's parking out right, left-handed, so I figured out to put a left-handed birdhouse in there.
Left-handed birdhouse.
Well, I considered I was halfway between the swimming pool and a pool. I should put it on this side on the fifth house. I finished it, never thought of it. The perches, I don't like making perches, and so the perches are all.
It's an apartment complex.
Well, I knew I was going to be gone for a couple of weeks this last month, so right after the demonstration, I went out and made 4 of these myself, and then I made this one. And then went and chopped a tree down in the backyard and set a bowl. So that's my activity.
$30.
Obviously, I've made a lot of, for a long time, I was working with cherry and maple for the birdhouse itself. The birds are always, cherry, dowel. But recently I got some dowels of, more exotic woods, so I've got walnut and padauk on here. This is one's cherry and padauk. And, for those who don't remember my demo of making birds some years ago, I turned blank first that gets the general size and shape of the bird, and then it's hand carved with a Dremel type tool.
Oh, I did. Oh, got it. Sorry. Okay, so these are the baseball bat pieces that are in the shop there that you get for free. This was the first one that I did, and I got really creative. It's just a lot of fun when you're given a piece of hard maple, and hard maple burns really well, colors really well. This is all hard maple as well. This is this one was textured as well as this one using a proxy texturing tool. Since this looks more like a tiki hut, I had to give it more of the Hawaiian style look with the surfboard and the umbrella. Oh, that's the sand and the coconuts on the palm trees. This was a tree that I planted 25 years ago. It's an aspen, and it fell last year, and there was a really cool chunk of wood that had this mold or moss on it. And so on this particular one, I was trying to do a thatched roof like you see in England. So that's what this is. And again, you need to almost look at it. And when you look at it straight down, it really looks, this almost looks like bird feather. This is the last piece that I did, and I haven't really done anything with the body yet. But I wanted to just talk real quick about the roof. It's actually the first thing that I do, and so I finish the inside first, and the outside is just a cylinder. And the reason I do that is because I know that I'm going to go with a peak, and I can't have anything to hold with a chuck. So basically, by doing the inside first and then doing the jam fit, then I'm able to then finish the roof in whatever way I want to finish it. And then obviously, I did a lot of wood burning in this one and texturing just to give it a good look. So, and then there's I call this the blank canvas because I have no idea what this one's going to be. I'm just going to try and come up with a different type of design than what I've currently done, just to be creative. So that's the fun part of this is letting your creative juices flow.
Rick.
Yes.
Is that like a Dremel, Boredom? What is the Proxon?
A Proxon tool is, it's kind of it's a real small scale arbor thing, okay? You know, an arbor thing. Okay, a Proxon it's only about this long, and it's just got either a spinning, and basically what I'm using is a metal cutter, and it gives it this really cool texture. It's not like what Larry used last month. It's going for, hard to explain, but anyway, it's taken out kind of like chunks. Okay, yeah, an architect, and you're just slowing the lathe down and holding it perpendicular to the piece, and voila.
Oh, creative.
Yeah. Oh, and then the other thing was, these are just
fish hooks. You know, you just cut off the end of the fish hook and then, just do a little small drill and then super glue the rest of the fish hook in. Cool. Okay, well, thank you everybody participated in the challenge. I'm going to ask Terry here to pull the number. He didn't even look, so you know she. The number is 583. If you were in the challenge and you have number 583, there are 2 gift certificates from there, 2 $10 gift certificates to Craft Supply. I'm sure you can find a use for that. Okay, let's get over now to our ShowNTell table. Looks like we got several items over there on the side of the sea. So if we brought something over, bring them on up and tell them.
You don't know that. They said, yeah, sure. Yeah, yes. This would be. You can still do that.
My wife insisted I bring this back. I bought it last time. But she wanted me to bring the pieces because this was not my first attempt. This was my first attempt, second attempt, and then my third attempt. It happens to all of us. And they say when you make a mistake, you should look at it closely and make a learning experience out of it by practice experiment. I have 2 more of these over there, different shapes for Christmas ornaments. I just did some spindle work.
It's me again. I looked around my house this last week and I noticed I had some unfinished pieces over there. And some unfinished pieces over there and a pile over there. For the last 3 days, I've been putting finish on this. And I still have 5 things I haven't touched. So I was really excited to find this. I went to Colorado with my husband, and I wanted to bring back some wood. So I went and I looked for a wood, someone who would sell wood, and he said refurbished wood. So I went, and we had to drive down this country road to go to this, and it was snowing, and I had to drive down this country road and dead end, and this man had some wood for me, and he said he'd sell it to me, and I thought that's very nice, and very thin. And he says, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to get some wood in Colorado. He says, well, I get mine in Kansas. So this is the first piece I carved, cut from his, and this is perfect for a lid. And I went from the green metal lid, and this is what I came up with. And I don't know what this lid is, but it has some color in it that just brings out the other. I'm so glad I did that. So I now have a little bowl, it's almost too tight, but it's a little bowl that fits and it's going in my kitchen table.
It's me again. This is an urn made out of, well, I should start over. I'm apologize because I cheated. I made a deep hollow vessel out of 2 bowls and glued them together. So I cheated. This is an urn made out of walnut that I cut myself, and then plum tree from Seattle that was sentimental to the recipient of this urn. I'm not done with it. I got one coat of tongue oil and with citrus oil into it, but by the time next month's meeting rolls around, it will no longer. The threaded fitting is a $20 sink fitting from council. I use carbide tools to cut it in half. I can get 2, maybe 3 if I try it again. Out of a $20 Amazon fitting. So half of it is, half of it is brass, and then this insert part, I'm pretty sure is polymer. But it looks pretty sure. I'm epoxied it. The other thing that I'll point out, and then we can move in, is the ears in the second plumb circle. There's dyed maple blues vertically there, but the horizontal veneers are a guitar fretboard or a pick guard that you can buy it laminated in 3, black, white, black, or white, black. No, whatever. I bought it a while ago. It's been sitting on a shelf for the longest time. I think I got it on clearance damage from Sumac or one of these other guitar part factory companies. And it worked out really well as an accent top and bottom. And I wasted it truthfully because I got lazy and I just put the whole thing on top and then taking the time to cut it to segment it. So, you know, I have some discs at home from center pieces. I'll try to figure out how to use, but I could have been a little bit more frugal and cut the segment with the bottom. So that's my. I was too afraid, honestly, to try to make a spindle top because I've never made a real detailed spindle, so I tried to do something a little bit on track. Thank you.
So do you think it's gonna be big enough?
Yes, I measured it with coffee beans. The formula, if you make an urn that I Googled, you can Google it and get later on, is 1 pound of heat equals 1 cubic inch. Is that what it is? And then I converted, 175 pounds of my thread into about 2 to 3/4 pounds. No. Anyway, I apologize, but I did do the math and I measured it with coffee beans in the Ziploc bags that I was going to make sure that hollowed out the amount. It's a little bit easier because I was getting half of them at the time. And then I had to come up with a top pack that kind of filled out that volume. Little GSA bucket. And this is the second urn I've made like this. The first one is for a neighbor's dog that he keeps on the shelf, which I've never kept that on the shelf. I'm not that kind of person. This one will likely end up 60 over the cook. So it's my urn.
This is a paper mache product that comes from yard bags and hard, so it's glue. So you cut up the strips you need to fit the object that you turn. And then basically, I use the process here of turning it in center, the burl that I started with is a black walnut burl. So you can see there's some bottom and there's some on the sides around. So basically I could turn the whole burl into a rough shape that had some form that I could use for the mold profile. So basically how I did this was to cut the strips up and make a section of the mold, which is right here, that would conform to that and let it dry a little bit. Peel that off, move it around to where it wasn't, make another little dry. This is
That's a process.
Ended up several hours messing with it. But basically, the idea is to make a mold a mold that is the same shape as what you got to work with. And that way, when you go to pour it, you'll have the shape of it already preformed in what you made for your pour. Now, you need at least 3 or 4 layers of wood leaf bags and some good glue. You don't skimp on the glue. And then you let it dry for overnight, and then you got your mold. So you put your burl in there, and if it fits all right. If it doesn't fit all right, you need to cut up the paper and put up, a little repair guide. So basically, then what you have is a mold that you can essentially pour your epoxy into. Now, the other trick is you're also going to figure out a way to keep the darn wood down in the epoxy because it wants to fall. And so I've done a stool with a strap like you use on pickup trucks or a tie down strip with a ratchet and a long, the thing I use to mix up the epoxy, I put on top of the barrel and wrap the strap around the legs of the stool, and that held the barrel in place. And you can get it down so it's good and tight. So then it was just a matter of cutting, the board and deal with the interior side of it. So I like using the blues. I think that my favorite color, although I have made some of the red, the flaming red, blood red color works really good. If you like a really brilliant red sparkle. So that's the story.
So what kind of epoxy are you using? I mean, this is kind of critical in the next step. Tabletop epoxy.
No, that's for next.
It's tabletop epoxy, and it is about $100 a gallon. The reason I should got the name of the epoxy. I just can't recall it. But they aren't the same, and some of them will work good. All of them will work good if you're pouring the bowl full of epoxy. Doesn't matter. But if you're going to recoat it with epoxy after you turn it, which is what these are, they have a clear coating of epoxy over the poured epoxy once you shape it. And then the reason to do that is that you can get the shine comes up automatically. You don't have to deal with it. I built a 30-degree angle with a little 10 RPM motor that I use to hot glue some adapters on turn. And that if you set it at a 30-degree angle, it doesn't roll and ball up. It just sticks onto the thing. But that angle is essential. That's the story.
This is a piece that I did a demo here a couple months ago. I had this piece, but I didn't have it finished, I don't think. So this is the finished version of it. This is what we call a failed attempt. The idea on this was to do a hollow form that was suspended by a spiral, so it was all turned out one piece of wood without anything glued or attached. And this curled on around, and I broke this piece off, said a few bad words. And so I had to come up with a base that would add enough support in order to support the thing that was done. So it's two hollow forms, a bottom hollow form, and then a top hollow form, and everything cut away on the bottom in order to create the spiral. And when I finished this one, I still wanted to try to do one like I had originally intended. So I have a second one. I'll probably bring it to the next meeting. It'll probably be dry enough. And I made a little bigger bell-shaped bottom on the bottom of it so that the spiral will just, support the whole thing. And then on it, instead of hollowing through the end, I hollowed it through this. I made it from a spherical shape and then hollowed it from the side. and left some meat on the top, so there'll be a hand carved spiral that, that peels out of this and then continues on. So anyway, we'll see how that one turns out.
My wife has a friend who's about to have a baby, and she was over a couple of weeks ago. And after she left, we got to talking, and I said, well, I've seen people make rabbit. And so I watched a couple YouTube videos, and my Chris had a ring tool, he loaned me. So after making the first one, the mother to be liked it. And so the best way to learn something is to do it multiple times. So I ended up learning 4 of these rattle, or as one YouTube video called it, a sibling whacker. I think, well, at least the bowls that I've turned, those bowls have a story. And when we were cleaning up the shop before we moved here, one night Anthony shoved a box across the table, said, "Here, this has your name on it." And in it was this, although it was old and dry and it had been first turned, but it was dusty and it had sat in my basement now for another year probably. And one night at the shop, Jerry picked a bowl off of the table and turned it. It had sat in there forever, and he turned it down and reshaped it. And I got to thinking, well, I've got that ugly bowl sitting in my basement. Surely I could do something with it. And so it had been first turned, was thick and out of shape, and one thing I had to learn in this process is how to put a mortise in the middle of a first turn bowl so that you can reshape the outside because it's not round anymore. But this is what came out of that old rusty piece of wood that was in the box that Anthony gave me. So we've discussed for a week what kind of wood it was, and we thought it was Jose orange, but Anthony says it's mulberry.
Good part about giving over real life is not standing. This is my grandfather. In my grandparents' house, there were 2 bowls that my grandfather made in high school. And this isn't exactly the same, but I kind of got the idea of it from him. This is a little squarer, but it has the 1925 flavor to it. That's why I like that. This one is Macassar ebony. I originally made the shape for rosaries, and since then I started. I noticed Buddhists use rosaries. This is actually made for this one. It's called a backing cloud, which is you can tobacco and put it in a pocket. One of the problems with wood is it sucks moisture pretty quick, so the tobacco doesn't stay moist very long. And I made smaller ones that have pocket boxes, and some people use it as compacts with lip gloss and things like that. And so the reason this box was made is real pretty. It's called hand chasing. Yeah, you don't go to Amazon.
You get a seed green.
Thanks, sir.
This week I encountered a safety first one I had, I call it true kitchen. I had a box elder, plank that I made into a bowl. And the problem we had tear out. I thought, well, let's use some mid-wax hardened. Now, read the damn label because it says excessively, extremely flammable. We know where this is going. Okay, so I did, and it got up hard, I could turn the finish on, nice. And then I decided, well, let's use the laser and we made on, mark on the back. And the laser malfunctioned and it stuck on one spot on. And the bowl started to smolder. And it smoldered about that big a hole. And my method where I had my epoxy laser was full of smoke. And I said, this is really bad because if the fire alarm goes off, we thought we were going to have to evacuate the whole second floor. Well, the thing I think saved the day, I turned the fire on because that sucks a huge amount of air out and it makes it smoke free. So the question I had, has anybody really had any interesting experiences with mid-wax hardware? Because that stuff is flammable. And the interesting thing, it did not burn with an open flame. It smoldered. So I have no idea what the chemistry of that steel is, but it's a bad deal and I won't use it again.